All right, we're going to begin now. I wonder where my information is. Okay, sorry for the delay in getting started. Welcome to the WIOA Wednesday. I appreciate everyone who is participating in the training today. I wanted to start by saying we'll hold the questions until the end, and also want to make sure that you know that this is being recorded, so you will be able to access this information later. And I also will send the PowerPoint presentation to anyone who requests it. So at that, let's get started. In the next 60 minutes, I will provide the federal and state laws applicable to content standards in adult education, and just some opportunities for you to delve into the content standards a little bit more and their implications for adult education, and some practical information about the key advances in the CCR standards. And also at the very end, I have several ready-to-use standard aligned resources in both mathematics and literacy that can be used and adapted for your students. Those were recommended to us by the national trainers that we brought to Iowa in September and October, I believe. So content standards serve a purpose. They serve an important purpose. They are to clarify the skills and knowledge that adult learners need to know and be able to do in their roles as workers, parents, and community members. Now, content standards are addressed in our federal legislation, also known as WIOA. Under WIOA, funds may be used for identifying curriculum frameworks and aligning rigorous content standards that specify what adult learners should know and be able to do. And I've provided the provision there in case you want to go back and do that do a little bit more research on your own. Another key WIOA provision that is applicable to standards, content standards instruction, they need to be based on the best practices derived from the most rigorous research available and appropriate scientifically valid research and effective educational practice. Now that we've discussed the federal legislation, let's go to the state law. All of Iowa's federal funded adult education programs must incorporate the federal college and career readiness standards in instruction or other standards as appropriate to the instruction. For example, employability skills, workplace preparation activities, and civics education. The Adult Education and Family Literacy Act program state plan for the state of Iowa included program-specific requirements for adult education and the Family Literacy Act program. By July 1st of this year, local programs were all required to align their content standards for adult education with state-adopted challenging academic content standards. In addition, United States Citizenship and Immigration has developed standards for adult citizenship education that will help align activities and lesson plan development with integrated English literacy and civics education services. Now, Iowa's standards and performance measures define the desired outcomes for instruction. Keep in mind that the standards must keep our students' learning goals and needs in mind. So what exactly is college and career readiness standards? What are they? I thought this explanation made sense to me, so I thought I would share it with all of you. It's really a subset of the National Common Core State Standards, the CCSS. You might hear common abbreviations including CCRS, CCR, CCR standards, or just standards. In Iowa, I think we tend to refer to them as either CCRS or CCR standards. Now, where can we find this list of standards themselves? I think most educators in adult ed are familiar with links. The CCR standards are posted in links, and that's a picture of the link where you can find the complete set. These standards reflect the content most relevant to preparing adult students for success in colleges, technical training programs, work, and citizenship in the areas of English language arts, literacy, and mathematics. I've also provided the link there so that you can go directly to those standards. So what process led to the creation of the standards? Octave actually created a deliberative multi-layered process where they convened two review panels, one in math, one in English language arts, with a wide cross-section of experience and expertise. They used that Common Core state standards as the basis for discussion, that larger set that CCRS is a subset of. They gathered feedback from colleagues around the nation and the lead CCSS writers. And then they established an evidence-based process. These standards, the reason for the standards, they were identified in response to a need expressed by adult educators to pinpoint a manageable set of the Common Core state standards that are most indispensable for college and career readiness and most important to adult students. Now, the identification of these standards can benefit states in a variety of ways, including the promotion of consistent expectations between K through 12 and adult education systems so that all students, whatever their pathway to education, will have access to the preparation they need to enter credit-bearing freshman courses without a need for remediation. Now, what evidence did the review panels consider in the development of the CCRS standards? As you can see, I've got two slides here, but as you can see, the evidence came from numerous resources. Numerous resources were consulted: ACT, researchers in the field, the American Mathematical Association of two-year colleges, looking through here again, the new GED test, AccuPlacer, so a variety of them. So if you are intrigued by this evidence, I would encourage you to delve into these primary resources yourself. So what did the evidence tell us? It told us to select standards that accentuate the content of the grades 9 through 12 standards, but ensure the texts that the students are reading are at college and career readiness level. Oops, missed one. It also encouraged us to look at informational text and that expository writing. And that expository writing is when an author is trying to present information or an idea for the purpose of explaining or informing. That would include reports, essays, or new articles. So what did the evidence tell us in mathematics? It told us to select standards that supply students with that solid conceptual understanding. Basically, make those lessons connect to real life scenarios. Now, how are they organized? I thought this grouping would make sense to you. The panelists bundled the selected standards into 5 grade level groupings to more closely reflect adult education levels of learning. So you see level A for English language arts, K through 1, B, grades 2 through 3, etc. And of course, math has to be difficult because grade 6 is in both level C and level B. So now that we've discussed the organization of the standards, let's take care of explaining what the standards are not. They are not an order in which standards are to be taught. They are not directions about how instructors should teach. They are not a full spectrum of support and interventions for students. They are not a curriculum, so states and programs will need to complement them with high quality curricula. They are not a definition of all that it takes to prepare students for college and careers. And they are not a national or federal state of mandates. So then what are the CCR standards? They are a model set of evidence-based CCR standards for use by state and local education, adult education programs. So just a set of evidence-based standards that we can use in our programs. In addition to Iowa, there are other states that have also adopted the CCR standards. I didn't take the time to research how many, but I recall somewhere in the area, 20 states, I believe, have also adopted the CCR standards in adult education. So what are the benefits of CCR standards? The benefits of CCR standards are that with the standards comes consistent expectations between K through 12 and adult education systems so that all students will have access to the preparation they need for college and career readiness. It also creates a partnership between and among states and programs to create just those common tools and materials to support implementation, including assessments, instructional materials, and teacher preparation and professional development opportunities. Now the CCR standards in English language arts and literacy. There are 3 key advances prompted by the CCR standards for adult education. One is complexity, so regular practice with complex text and its academic language. Evidence, that's reading, writing, and speaking grounded in evidence from the text itself. And knowledge, building knowledge through content-rich informational text. So that all boils down to text worth reading, questions worth answering, and work worth doing. Now, how about the CCR standards in mathematics? There were 3 key advances prompted by the CCR standards there as well. First, there was a focus strongly where the CCR standards focus. Coherence, design learning around coherent progressions level to level. And of course, rigor, pursuing conceptual understanding, procedural skill and fluency, and application, all with equal intensity. Now those bear a little explaining. I don't think they're as easy to understand as maybe the English language arts. But that conceptual understanding, procedural and skill and fluency and application means that's a proper mix, meaning the students know how to get the answer and they can generalize and apply concepts from several perspectives. It also means that students can perform calculations with speed and accuracy so that they are able to access more complex text, concepts, and procedures as they go along with their studies. And when students have the ability to use math flexibly, they are then able to apply their knowledge to a wide variety of problems. Now I'd like to share some recommended resources that are aligned to the CCR standards. Now these were recommended by our national trainers, Meredith Lieben and Mimi Alkier, who came to, and Rachel I forgot one person's name, Rachel Etienne, E-T-I-E-N-N-E. They came to Iowa, and they were all three part of the actual writing of the CCR standards. So it was nice to have them here in Iowa, and I appreciate all the programs that sent your instructors to that training. But here's some resources that I thought you might be interested in. These are things they recommend. Some you may have heard of, some you may not. The first was Digital Public Library of America Primary Source Sets. That's a national digital library that provides access to millions of primary and secondary sources from libraries, archives, and museums. It covers a wide range of topics of historical interest. It's free. They're easily accessible and appropriate for adults. And each primary source has a teaching guide, which includes discussion questions and classroom activities. Now, I know some of your programs are familiar with this publication. In fact, I was at Hawkeye yesterday and I saw that they subscribe to this publication. But the Change Agent includes lesson plans as well as PDF magazines on a wide variety of themes, articles in both audio and CCR-aligned activities and more. And all of this is available, I believe, for the price of $20 per teacher per year. That's what was quoted on their site, at least. Meredith Lieben quoted it as currently the most aligned instructional materials for adult education available in one cheap bundle. Another resource recommended, I believe this one was recommended by Meredith, is the California CTE Online. And she said some of this may be hit and miss. So when you're looking at this resource, be selective on what you tend to use. But there are almost 4,000 lesson plans and 165 project-based learning curricula. And for the most part, the lesson plans are Common Core aligned and could be worked with if they're not quite there. But educators from across the state of California developed these lesson plans and curricula, and this past year, they added another 348 new standards aligned lesson plans, also including 18 new STEM integrated projects and 28 new project-based learning curricula with new and updated course outlines. So it is being kept up to date. The image that I've included there is just an example of something I saw online. I like the way it described the grade levels as well, appropriate for grade 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. And when you get into that, of course, it's full of just great resources. I'm also going to mention links because what we've been observing when we've offered the CCRS training is not all of the instructors really know about links. And for those of you who have used links, you know that there are wonderful professional development materials for adult education. And there are materials there to assist in the implementing of the CCR standards in your programs. All of the materials that Meredith, Rachel, and Mimi used in their training are on links. All of it, even the PowerPoints, the instructor guides, the answer keys, all of it is there. So I would encourage you to look there as well as you're looking for materials that are aligned to the CCR standards. I believe this resource was recommended to us by Mimi. Illustrative Mathematics, I'm not familiar with this myself, but it provides instructional and assessment tasks, lesson plans, and other resources for teachers, assessment writers, and curriculum developers since 2011. And there's the link for that resource. The OERcommons.org, that is a digital library network. So there you can explore open education resources and join a network of educators who are also dedicated to curriculum development. This is one of my favorites, and it was introduced to me by Jason Walker from Eastern Iowa Community College. I hadn't heard about it until I talked to him, and also Mimi brought it up as well, but this is a wonderful resource. They received quite a bit of funding to put this together, but it's a great framework that provides materials for teaching math, science, and social studies for adult education. Now, they all are in PDF, and I did request that I asked if they were available in Word by chance so that we could adopt them, and they said unfortunately they neglected to negotiate that with the curriculum development people who helped develop their site. But it is really worth the time to look at this site. I was extremely impressed with it, and I can see why Jason recommended it. He said that he uses it for all of his math lessons. It's just simply wonderful. Udacity.com, I believe that's how you pronounce that, Visualizing the Algebra course. I believe this was recommended by Mimi. Throughout this free course, you can use algebra to quantify and describe the world. It requires a registration, but the course is free. So throughout that course, you will have, you would, for instance, use algebra to quantify and describe the world around us. Like, for instance, one of the examples I read, if you ever wondered how many songs would fit on your flash drive, you know, they use those kind of analogies throughout their instructions. So it's just interesting facts where they model problems, analyze problems, and they use algebra to arrive at conclusions. So that's another resource for you. This one, SABES. It's been a little bit before I remember going into this, but under each of these tabs that you see, the ELA, ESOL, Math, Ed Leadership, etc., you'll find resources, research, and curriculum that's related to that discipline. For example, under ELA, you might find rubrics for analyzing text complexity. So it's just a rich resource for you. One of their priorities is to strengthen the curriculum and instruction of ESL-funded ABE programs. So they've worked on an emphasis for increased academic rigor and expertise in the ESL areas as well. So great list of resources there. Then there is something called the Achievement Network, or ANET as it's referred to. That is an education nonprofit that helps schools boost student learning with great teaching that's grounded in the standards, and it's informed by data and built on the successful practices of educators across the country. It provides coaching, assessment, data reports, and resources. I saw this as a resource more to help programs than maybe the instructors themselves, but you can make that call yourself. It still had some of both, but it looked like they had coaches available that could work with school leadership teams who then work with the teachers. So they're basically building in-house expertise, but definitely worth looking at. But I think that one would cost something, of course. And then Kentucky Adult Education. I was pleasantly surprised when I went into this this site. This was also recommended by Mimi, I believe. There's a lot of resources there. I even found marketing materials when I went into this site. Marketing materials, one of my favorites was, I think they had a marketing piece about drop and give us 40 hours of instruction. So it was cute. It was a really well-developed site, and Alex has shared with me before that they are very willing to share information with WIOA as well. Just some great sources. Now this one, I don't know if this is aligned to the CCRS standards or not, but if you've ever watched The Wonder Years, this particular author, Danica McKellar, was an actress on that show, and she's developed a math series that is supposed to be just really inspirational for middle school girls, their parents, educators. you could find her books on Amazon. Again, I don't know if they're aligned to the standards or not, but I would think that these would appeal to adults as well. And that too was a resource recommended by Amy. So at this point, I want to see if there are any questions that I can answer, and want to thank you for participating in this WIOA Wednesday today. Any questions I can answer for any of you? Let's see. Yes. Oh, and yes, all the PowerPoints have been posted on the DE website. Yes, I will post mine there too.
Jane, this is Sandra.
Yes.
Last year when we had SIA 2.0, someone had brought up the question of whether there could possibly be some instructors around the state that could serve as kind of like consultants when it comes to curriculum, like go-to people that other colleges could, other instructors could consult. Is there any possibility for that in the future?
Yes, I think so.
That's kind of like CUNY, how they have betters.
Oh, I see. Sure. Alex was just sharing, it's sort of like the CUNY folks where they have betters of curriculum, you know, and before they post it online. We at the state also are looking at an online lesson repository. We're not there yet. I've noticed other states have, you know, they're paying instructors to post things, and I'm not sure how that would work in Iowa, whether or not we have the funds to do that. But one of those resources that I cited had that process in place. So, but I have mentioned it to the instructors who've gone through the CCRS training, just to see if they would be interested in possibly vetting lesson plans down the line, and they all have been pretty excited and willing to do so, to be involved. So that's been great to hear. Are you from Kentucky, Sandra? Did you hear that, Sandra? Oh, you do say I'm a product of Kentucky Public Schools. Great. I didn't read that part.
Your voice was cutting out some there, Jane. We missed part of what you said.
Oh, I just read your comment about being a product of Kentucky schools, public schools. I didn't know that.
That one I heard, but the other information. I mean, I realize the instructors are probably very, very busy, but we used to have ESL consultants across the state. Is there any possibility of having like a math consultant or a ELA consultant again?
I'll let Alex answer that question. Is that a possibility?
It certainly is. So those that have been involved in the CCRS training, those that have been sort of table coaches for the training that's going on, there are prospective individuals that the state might look at further partnering with. Nothing's been formalized in that way, but it's certainly an approach that we're looking at how other states are helping to support CCRS and helping to support programs with implementing the standards in action, the college and career readiness standards, and lesson plan development. So it's something that could be looked at for the future. So good suggestion.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments? I hope the resources were useful. Great. I plan on also presenting at Marcella's virtual conference in January with Jason Walker, and we're planning to go into a little bit more detail about some of the online resources that are available to adult education instructors. So this is just a start, and maybe go into them a little bit more than what I have done today. Great, thank you.